I didn't think a busted pipe would end with someone else's sister in the room, but that's how it started. My name's Idris. I was 26, broke enough to still be doing handyman jobs on weekends, and Naz, Mrs. Abayoy to the building super, was 44 and lived alone in 4C with a cat that hated me and a leak under her kitchen sink that had been dripping for 3 weeks before she called anyone. "You're younger than I expected," she said, holding the door like she hadn't decided yet whether to open it wider. "You sound disappointed." "I sound surprised." "There's a difference." But she stepped back and let me in. She made coffee she didn't drink. I noticed that the second time I came back, when the pipe still wasn't fixed right and I had an excuse to return. Third time, no excuse at all. I just knocked. That was the day her brother's daughter was there. 17, sharp-eyed, sitting cross-legged on the counter with a soda she wasn't supposed to have before dinner. She watched me hand Naz a wrench like it was the most interesting thing she'd seen all week. "Auntie," the girl said, not even lowering her voice, "why is he looking at you like that?" Naz didn't answer. She turned to rinse a mug that was already clean, and her hand, steady the whole afternoon, slipped enough that the mug clicked too hard against the basin. I watched her shoulders. The stillness in them. The kind of still you have to work at. "He's not looking at me like anything," she said finally, to the sink, "not to either of us." I hadn't said a word. I didn't need to. The niece left around 6, taking her half-finished soda and a look back at me that said she'd clocked something the adults hadn't admitted to yet. Naz didn't tell me to go. She also didn't ask me to stay, not in words. She just filled the kettle again, which didn't make sense, since neither of us had finished the first round. "You don't have to," she said. "I mean, the pipe's fine now. You could go." "I know." I didn't move. Neither did she. Here's the thing nobody tells you about being 26 and noticing a woman like Naz, it isn't the obvious stuff. It's that she folds receipts into 8s before she throws them out. It's that she has a laugh she only uses once and then catches herself, like she's overspent something. It's that when her brother's name came up earlier, just in passing, the niece mentioning a dinner, her jaw did something small and tired, and I understood without being told that whatever happened with that side of the family had cost her more than she let on. "Long day," I said, because it was easier than the other things sitting in my mouth. "You have no idea." She almost smiled. Then didn't. My marriage ended in March. Everyone still asks how I'm doing like it's May of a different year. I hadn't asked. She told me anyway, and then looked like she regretted it, reaching for the kettle switch she'd already flipped, just to have somewhere to put her hand. I put mine on the counter, closer than it needed to be. "I should go," I said. She looked at my hand. Not my face. My hand. "Should you?" she said. Not really a question. I didn't leave. That was the failure, if you want to call it that. I told myself I was giving the coffee time to cool, then the kettle, then some third excuse I stopped keeping track of. "You're staring," Naz said. "I'm thinking." "About the pipe?" "No." She turned then, actually turned, coffee mug and all. And for a second neither of us filled the silence with anything. Her eyes did the thing eyes do when a person's deciding whether to let you see something. Then her phone buzzed on the counter between us, loud enough that we both flinched like we'd been caught at something, even though we hadn't done anything yet. Anything at all. She glanced at the screen. Her whole face changed, went smooth, professional, a door closing. "My brother," she said, not picking it up. "You should get that. I know what he wants to talk about." She let it ring out. For more buzzes, then quiet. "It's not the phone I'm avoiding." I should have laughed that off. Made it easy for both of us. Instead I said, "What are you avoiding, then?" and immediately wished I could take the question back, because it was too direct, too close to something we'd both been circling since the sink. She didn't answer right away. She set the mug down, carefully, the way people do when they don't trust their own hands. And for a second her fingers rested against the edge of the counter close enough to mine that I felt it before I understood it. "Idris," she said, like she was testing whether my name still meant what it used to. I didn't move my hand away. She didn't finish the sentence. Just my name, hanging there, and then nothing, like she'd opened a door and lost her nerve on the threshold. "Say it," I said. Quieter than I meant to. "Say what?" "Whatever it is you're not saying." She laughed, but it wasn't the good kind, the once-a-day kind I'd earned out of her before. This one had an edge to it. "You're 26. I know how old I am. I have a mortgage. I have a niece who already asked me why you look at me like," she stopped herself, shook her head. "I have an ex-husband who still calls to remind me what a mistake looks like. I don't need another one." "Is that what this is? A mistake you haven't made yet?" The question landed harder than I meant it to. I watched it land, watched something behind her eyes flinch and then steady, the way she did everything, composed even when composed was the last thing she felt. "I don't know what this is," she said. "That's the problem. I've known you 6 weeks. You fixed a sink. That's not all I did." "No," she said, quieter now. "It isn't." We were close enough that I could see her breathing change. Not dramatic, just a fraction faster than before, her chest rising a little too visibly for someone trying that hard to look unaffected. Her hand was still near mine on the counter. Neither of us had moved it. "If I kissed you right now," I said, "would you stop me?" She didn't answer. She didn't look away either. She didn't answer with words. She stepped back. Not far, half a step, but it was enough, and I felt it like a door shutting on my hand. "There's something you don't know," she said. "About why I called a handyman instead of my brother, who owns half the tools in this building." "Okay. He doesn't know I got divorced." "Not really. He thinks it's a trial separation, still. I've let him think that for 5 months because," she pressed her palm flat against the counter, like she needed the surface to stay honest, "because he was the one who introduced me to my husband. He'd feel responsible. He already feels responsible for everything that happens to me since our mother died, and I didn't want to hand him one more thing to carry. I hadn't expected that." Not the ex-husband, not the brother, not the shape of the family she'd been quietly protecting from 4 floors up while her pipes leaked and she let a stranger back into her kitchen 3 times running. So the niece, I said slowly, doesn't know either. The niece knows everything. 17-year-olds always do. She just hasn't told him yet. A breath. Which means whatever this is, whatever you're about to ask me, it doesn't stay between us. Not really. Nothing does in this family. I wasn't going to ask permission, I said. I was going to ask if you wanted this too. That's different from whether it's allowed. Her hand came off the counter. For a second I thought she was going to leave the kitchen entirely. Instead she reached for my sleeve. Her fingers closed around my sleeve, not pulling me closer, not letting go either. Just holding on to the fact of me, like she needed something solid to argue with. I've done the reckless thing before, she said. Married it. It cost me 3 years and a version of myself I liked better. Her eyes came up to mine, and there wasn't any performance left in them, none of the composure she wore around like a coat. I don't know how to do this halfway. I never have. I'm not asking for halfway. You're 26. You don't know what you're asking for. Maybe not. But I know what I'm not asking for. I'm not asking you to explain yourself to your brother, or to be less careful than you are, or to pretend this is simpler than it is. I put my hand over hers, still gripping my sleeve. I'm asking if you want to stop being careful with me specifically. Just me. The kettle had gone cold behind her. Neither of us had touched the coffee. Somewhere down the hall her cat knocked something off a shelf and neither of us flinched this time. She let go of my sleeve. For one long second I thought that was her answer. Then she took my hand instead, laced her fingers through mine, deliberate, like she was signing something she couldn't take back. If I do this, she said, I do it with my eyes open. No pretending. You tell your friends. I'll tell my brother. Whatever it costs both of us, not just me, alone, again. Both of us, I said. She kissed me first. Her brother found out on a Sunday, over dinner, the way most family truths land, badly timed and half cold on the plate. I wasn't there for that conversation. Naz told me about it after, sitting on my side of a couch that had slowly become half hers over the months since the kitchen. She said he was quiet for a long time, and then he asked if I was good to her, and she said yes, and that was apparently enough for him, though it took him another 2 dinners to actually look me in the eye. The niece never let either of us forget she'd seen it first. She brings it up at every family gathering now, some version of I told you so dressed up as a joke, and Naz always rolls her eyes in a way that isn't really annoyance at all. We didn't rush it. She kept her apartment for a year before we found a place together, one with plumbing that actually worked, which became a joke between us that never got old, not really. She still folds her receipts into eighths. I still notice. What changed wasn't dramatic. It was smaller than that. She stopped bracing herself around me, stopped being careful the way she'd been careful with everyone since her marriage ended. And I stopped waiting outside doors for reasons I couldn't explain. We just started walking through them together. People ask sometimes if the age gap mattered, if the family stuff mattered, if any of it was as hard as it looked from outside. Some days, yes. Most days, it just felt like ours, nobody else's business, no matter who saw it first. She was never a mistake I made. She was the one thing I got right by not walking away. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?